Cleveland! Welcome into the show at the office, the show where we talk all things Cleveland sports, all major sports topics. We talk about it all here. We're having an emergency board meeting today, Sunday, instead of doing our normal show on Monday. Matt, why are we having this meeting? Tell the people.
We're having an emergency meeting today. We have gathered you all here today, got us all here. Everybody's listening in because we're all aware. Myles Garrett has signed an extension. He's staying in Cleveland.
Yeah, and the excitement is at an all-time high. We have plenty of things to get into. First, real quick, make sure to leave a comment on the YouTube, Facebook, X, wherever you're watching, or feel free, text or call the show. That's at 216-260-3433, 216-260-3433. Matt, Myles Garrett, a Cleveland Brown until 2030. How are you feeling about it, man?
I feel like I'm a genius. I might be the smartest man ever. I called it 3 episodes ago. Exactly what I said was going to happen. And I'm right.
I am absolutely ecstatic of the news as well. I think it bodes and puts a much needed win in the win column for the Cleveland Browns because we have seen a lot of bad news break after bad news break ever since Myles Garrett had announced that he wanted this trade request. And we're going to get into everything in 1 second. But first, I wanted to just let everybody know about our video sponsor today, and that is D&D Meadery. D&D Meadery is a honey wine, for those who don't know, a nice, sweet, succulent drink made by brothers Derek and Dominic of Madison, Ohio, handcrafted right here in the beautiful state of Ohio, and can be shipped to your door for 5% off. If you use the code @D-OfficeCLE, you get 5% off. You buy 2 bottles, well, you get a beautiful shot glass as well. Let that focus in for a second. So buy 1 bottle, you get 5% off. Buy 2 bottles at 5% off, get a shot glass. It's a deal you cannot beat. Don't you agree, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, how can you complain? You're getting it, saving some money on it, getting a delicious drink, ideally getting an awesome shot glass too. Like, what's to hate?
Yeah, there's nothing to hate. This honey wine is fantastic. This is, I think, my 3rd or 4th bottle. I have liked this stuff before they were a sponsor here on this channel, so I do stand by it being quality. Make sure you drink responsibly if you go out and purchase yourself some of this beautiful, succulent, great honey wine. But getting into it, Matt, Myles Garrett, massive contract extension with the Cleveland Browns to the tune of 4 years, averaging $40 million per year. It locks him up until 2030. It's $122.8 million guaranteed, the most ever for a non-quarterback in NFL history. Matt, I know you woke up a little bit late today, so you didn't get to see the news when it broke. When you arose from your slumber and saw that Myles Garrett was going to continue being a Cleveland Brown, what were your instant reactions?
So let me actually backtrack that, just about 30 seconds to I wake up and my phone has, probably 25 notifications from various people, groups. I think 7 of them were Noah. Uh,
Probably.
and I was like, what is going, like, clearly something sports related. It's all my, sports friends. What's going on right now? And then there was like a moment there where I was like, did we trade him? That we had to have traded him. That's what happened. And the first thing right on Instagram, I see extension signed. Cleveland to Canton is on. And I just felt so relieved and excited and happy. And it just makes me think, like, I don't know, he had such a hard standpoint on I'm out. I want to win. That, yeah, $40 million can make anybody change their heart. But I feel like that didn't go away for him. So we must have had, sat down and given him a plan he liked in my mind.
Yeah, I agree with you on all of that. My reaction was pure excitement. I called Matt, I called my family members. I was telling Bree, my girlfriend, about it. She didn't care as much, obviously. My roommate, we were all excited. It was a great time. I do think that the Browns have put together some sort of plan that got Myles Garrett at least more excited and more comfortable of what that's going to look like. Now, what is that plan, you may ask? Well, one of the popular theories was Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers to the Cleveland Browns. Well, the news just broke that Devontae Adams is going to Los Angeles about 5 minutes before we went live on this episode. So I don't think that's really the theory, nor do I personally. I don't know about you, Matt, really want Aaron Rodgers in an orange and brown uniform. Yes, he is a stellar talent, but we have had enough of the head cases in the quarterback room. Um, so that is a popular theory. What do you think this proposed plan could have included that made Myles Garrett excited and willing and able, aside from the $40 million a year, to want to come back and be a Cleveland Brown?
I feel like they convinced him and sold him on a rookie quarterback coming up. They were able to sit him down, and I'm still, obviously, I'd say the market is 80% Shedeur to Cleveland, but I
Yeah,
still
I
can't
agree.
pick myself between Shedeur and Cam Ward. I see them both being very solid players. So one way or another, I think they sat down, showed him the film, showed him what they love, laid out a game plan. I do think they're still obviously going to bring in a vet quarterback to battle and, hopefully help develop and teach a rookie quarterback.
Right.
But I think they're going all in on a rookie coming out this year.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% on that. I know we're going to get into free agencies after the free agent signings and potential signings after the ad break. But I think this team is very much 100%. I think they're 100% sold on Shador. If you read the tea leaves and in between, whether it be the coaching connections that Shador has to the Cleveland Browns, the Raiders were the other main team rumored to want Mr. Sanders himself, and they just traded for Geno Smith yesterday. I think the writing's on the wall that Sanders is the apple of Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski's eyes, but it remains to be seen. I agree with you, though. I don't think whatever plan that they had in mind when they first talked to Myles has since changed. And I think it more centers around a rookie quarterback coming to Cleveland now and competing now, as opposed to trying to go, just stick it out with Kirk Cousins and see what happens. I do think they'll get a veteran quarterback in here and let him, maybe take the reins to start the season under whichever rookie quarterback we end up with. But yes, I agree with you. Something else I was thinking about too. Nick Chubb and Myles Garrett are tight. That is a known, factor. They are both locker room leaders in terms of the last couple of years in the Cleveland Browns. Do you think this changes some of those reports about Nick Chubb now? You think maybe Myles was like, you have to bring Nick Chubb back? I saw that one online and I was like, I could see there being a chance for that door to open back up and Nick Chubb to be a Cleveland Brown in 2025.
I mean, I've personally always been of the standpoint, the rumors, or I don't know if it ever got confirmed fully, but I mean, I believe that we're, letting him dictate his market and we're going to offer him the same contract he gets offered anywhere else.
Yeah.
I'm really not worried about Nick Chubb leaving in free agency. I don't just something like a part of me tells me that's not on the table. It won't happen. Neither side is even considering that, I think.
Yeah, but did you see the Mary Kay article? I know we didn't talk about it on our Monday show, but we talked about it as it came out Wednesday, where Mary Kay basically said it was the end of the Nick Chubb era. And at that point in my mind, I thought it was over with. But now with Myles Garrett coming back and the connection he has with Chubb and all of that, basically, I just think that there's a better chance that Nick Chubb is a Cleveland Brown. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I think there is a better chance that he's there in the orange and brown come the 2025 football season.
Yeah, I mean, I really wouldn't be, too shocked if Miles did say something along the lines of, "Hey, bring my boy back and I'll sign." Like that might have been part of that.
Yeah.
But the other part of that, like especially with the Mary Kay report is, I mean, for the last 2 weeks, the media has told us that Myles Garrett slammed the door and, you know, won't even do anything to stay in Cleveland. Like there was no way he was staying in Cleveland. And now, obviously, in the span of, I believe it was like the last 36 hours, it was said that changed.
Yeah.
Like the media is not always right. I try not to put too much weight into what a lot of reporters and media say, just because oftentimes quite the opposite happens. Cleveland was 100% out on Deshaun Watson. And then boom, we have Deshaun Watson. Like, it
That
happens so
no,
much.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I just when it's Mary Kay specifically, someone who is very close to the organization, I know people have their opinions of her as a reporter. She tends to be right when it comes to a lot of these things, but I think this might be one she eats her words on just because of again Myles Garrett coming back to Cleveland. The team isn't staring down as much of a rebuild as they, potentially were thinking they would have to if Myles didn't end up re-signing or staying with the team. My other thing I wanted to point out with this is about 2 days ago, the internet was in a frenzy because Jimmy Haslam would not meet with Myles Garrett. I took that as a good thing, and I believe I'm correct now more than ever that it was a good thing. Matt, what did you think about Jimmy Haslam not meeting with Myles Garrett? And then I'll explain why I think it was a good thing and why it shows growth in an ownership group that has needed to show growth for some time.
Yeah, I think we're going to pretty much agree on this one. It was kind of Jimmy saying, hey, that's not my department. I'm not the one making calls here. You need to go talk to the boss man that is. He told him to go talk to Andrew Barry. He wasn't going to be the one to sit down and, hear Miles's ultimatums and return ultimatums of the team to like that wasn't his place is how he felt in my mind. So he was like, Myles, look, it's not my territory to go into negotiations with you. It's Andrew Barry and Kevin Stefanski's. You have to do this with them. I think it got blown way out of the water how people were like, oh, the worst owner in sports strikes again. Like, yeah, there's something to be said about refusing a meeting with your superstar cornerstone player. And I do get that. Maybe you shouldn't have refused the meeting and been like, give him the meeting, sit down and, lay out your dream world, but say, hey, anything more, you have like say what you said, but to his face, basically. I could see that being a slightly better route, but hey, obviously it all worked out.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what my thoughts are too. And I think it shows that Jimmy Haslam isn't willing to meddle as much as he used to. Like he's trying to trust in the guys he hired to do the process, basically. Um, so I was a little bit confused when people were like, "Why isn't Jimmy meeting with him?" And there were a bunch of other side comments and criticisms towards Jimmy Haslam for not meeting with him. But when it comes to something that's a contract and staying on the team and his fit, blah, 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 Jimmy Haslam technically shouldn't have anything to do with that. All he should be doing is bankrolling and rolling in the dough, writing checks and rolling in the money that he makes off of the team. Yes, 100%. So I took that as a positive thing. I think it worked out even better now because it gave Myles zero option to try to skip the line and, ask for a trade straight to the owner or be like, you need to strong arm them into this trade, even though I don't think Myles would have had that power over Jimmy. I just think it was a good thing overall that Jimmy Haslam did not take that meeting because it just showed that the people who are in charge are the people who are in charge, Myles, and you have to talk to them, not me.
No, I mean, absolutely. I think it's big because you think about, I don't know, I think about every big blow up that we've had in the last, say, 10 years of Cleveland football. And it feels like Jimmy Haslam's name is always right in the middle of it. You look at Deshaun. A lot of people think Jimmy Haslam was the one that really wanted that. I know there's, disagreement among who in the front office was really going for him. You go back to Johnny Manziel. Like there's so many different things that, Jimmy Haslam forced his way into because he owns the team and they backfired. So like you said, I think this is an amazing sign that maybe Jimmy realized, hey, this isn't my game to play. I'm just going to sit at the top and make some money while I do it.
Yeah. I think this ultimately ends up being a good move for Myles Garrett as well. He obviously becomes the highest paid non quarterback in the NFL, but more importantly, he gets a no trade clause involved and a no tag clause involved with the team. What that basically means is yes, Myles still can be traded. He just has the power to approve the team. So when we were talking about earlier how we could just trade him to the Jaguars and get their pick or get Trevor Lawrence in their first pick, whatever, crazy trade scenario you wanted to put up was Myles now has the ability if say we move 3-4 more years down the line in terms of the Cleveland Browns, and we haven't made any progress in terms of being closer to winning a Super Bowl, he has now some ability to pick and choose where he wants to go in terms of saying, I want to go to a contender, as opposed to what he did not have this time, which was any type of leverage whatsoever. So he's making money. He's bought into a team that apparently sold him on whatever their vision is next, whether that be Sanders, Ward, Joe Flacco, Aaron Rodgers, you name it, whatever really floats Myles' boat. It's just an exciting time. This is the first time I've been happy and proud to wear Browns clothing since probably October, and my closet's full of it. I'm wearing a Myles Garrett jersey today. I got my hat on. I'm just feeling good, man. For once, it feels good to be a Browns fan because we got some sort of victory today, right, Matt?
Absolutely. I mean, it's the first, real big, meaningful win we've had in like a year, over a year. So
Yeah.
it really is just a great feeling.
Yeah. Well, man, we could light up the fire and be all excited about Myles Garrett for a whole 30-minute episode, but I want to get to some other content. Free agency starts tomorrow, really, with tampering period. So I want to cut us to commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some free agent fits for the Cleveland Browns and what that may look like in terms of the fit with Myles Garrett being on the roster. We'll be back at the office after these commercial messages. And we are back at the office talking all things Cleveland sports. Matt, it's been a pleasure talking Myles Garrett with you. Everybody who's watching, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure to check out our YouTube channel at The Office CLE. Check us out on all socials at The Office CLE. There is a lot of stuff going on right now. The Cleveland Browns NFL offseason is absolutely going insane. So make sure you follow us to get the best takes, the best thought processes, everything in terms of the mind state of a Cleveland fan. Matt, we are talking free agent fits when it comes to the Cleveland Browns. And there are a lot of free agents this year. I want to know, who do you think is a good free agent fit for the Cleveland Browns? Go ahead and fire one off for me.
My number one off the bat, first name I saw scrolling through the list today of free agents really jumped out at me. And I think this one might catch you off guard a little bit. Rico Dowdle.
Okay, explain.
He's a 26-year-old running back from Dallas. He would be a very good competition 1-2, depending on Nick Chubb's situation and talent level when he returns. And he's young. I don't think he's going to demand a lot of money. He doesn't have a lot of history. He was very solid last year, but that's the only really sample we had. So I don't see him being, a super expensive premium price tag back, but I also see the talent there and think he would fit well in Cleveland's run game.
Yeah, I could see it for sure. I disagree with going after any free agent running back just because of how deep this NFL draft running back class is going to be this year, aside from Nick Chubb, for all of the reasons that we've talked about multiple times on the show at this point. So I get what you're saying. I'm going to disagree with it just because I think there's ample talent that we can be getting in the draft who will have fresher legs and more upside, all the simple stuff you think of when you think prospect. So my first free agent that I have for the Cleveland Browns is one guy that me and you both know pretty well. And I think he'd be a great mentor to whatever young quarterback comes through these doors. And that is one, Joe Flacco. I say Joe Flacco because I think the Browns need to do a lot of things right now to have goodwill with the fans, because we have been up in arms with the team for some time now. Joe Flacco coming here and starting the first 5 games of the season before Sanders does, and playing some of the ball that we saw him play under Kevin Stefanski's system before and play successfully in, I think it makes 110% sense to bring an old vet like Joe Flacco in to teach one of these young quarterbacks. He is, according to SpotTrack, the sports contract website, He is looking to get $3.2 million is what his guest salary is going to be. That's a drop in the bucket for an NFL team. And I think him coming back only helps morale, not only with the team, but with the fans as well. What do you think about Flacco back in the orange and brown?
There's no reason not to. I would love it. Obviously, I fell in love with him when he came here and started lighting it up for us for a handful of weeks. I see no reason not to bring him back, especially when, you consider really the main reason we didn't bring him back was you didn't want to cause an uproar on the first 3rd and 10 throw Deshaun missed. But now we don't have to really worry about that anymore. So as long as he's not upset about that, I don't see there's any reason that couldn't happen.
Now, does that worry you that the same thing could happen with whatever rookie quarterback we bring in, though? Because that's something I've thought about. We put a Shador in, say, week 6 or whatever, or we put a Cam Ward in or a Jackson Dart, wherever you think the Browns take a quarterback, and he has a bad game. Do you think us as the fan base are going to go Flacco like crazy again? Or do you think that was more of a testament to just our feelings about Deshaun Watson, the quarterback, and the person at that point?
I think there's something to be said about, the hatred for Deshaun in Cleveland because that's, clearly there. And there's, a good bit to be said about the Cleveland fan base in general just being an overly aggressive, you know, jump the gun fan base, like most fan bases are truly. But I think we'd be willing to accept a bad game from a rookie, given he is a rookie starting his first
Right.
handful of games, however long he's into it. You'll be able to reason that out. And on the other hand, the people that won't be able to reason it out and, will be chanting Flacco the first time he has a bad game are going to be the same people that in week 2 are calling for us to start our brand new rookie when Flacco
Right.
has a 3 interception game. Like,
Right.
you're going to have it both ways no matter what. I don't see it being a big issue if it's a rookie quarterback we're dealing with, just because he's so new to the league, he's got to learn it.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right in that take, Matt. That is my exact thought process as well. Having a guy like Flacco be a safety blanket for this team in case something, the rookie does play bad, but at the same time, not having the same implications of ruining a guy, an ego of a quarterback you're paying $230 million. No, he's a rookie. He's going to make mistakes. So we don't have to go Flacco right away. But, you know, I get it both ways. So, yes, I agree with you. Who is your next free agent fit for the Cleveland Browns, Matt?
The next fit I have, and I personally would really love this one. I'm a big fan of doubling down on what a team is strong at to become elite at it. We are very strong with our edge rusher now that we have signed Myles Garrett. I think we go get Josh Sweat, put him on the other edge, have 2 dominant pass rushers. You might see like a 45 sack season.
Yeah, I like Josh Sweat. I'm nervous about the market for him and the cost. The Cleveland Browns currently, this is without doing any other cap magic that they do, are at 12.5 million in cap. Again, that could fluctuate by tomorrow as soon as, Andrew Berry restructures a couple contracts because now we know Myles is back and we want to spend in free agency. I think that's key here is with Myles being back, you're back into the thought process of we're going to spend and we're going to do everything to be competitive now instead of trying to kick the can and figure out, well, maybe we'll just sign a couple low key players this year. You get what I'm saying. I also have an edge rusher listed here. I have one that is a little more realistic, in my opinion, and that is one Chase Young from the Saints. He has had an up and down NFL career. He is projected to get $17.5 million on the market, which isn't insane, but it isn't cheap by any means. He had 21 solo tackles last year, 5.5 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. I think a younger player fits the Andrew Berry mold of how he tries to sign free agents and bring in players, as well as Josh Sweat is a bigger name, right, than Chase Young. A more modest addition is more conducive, more realistically able to happen. What do you think about Chase Young as a Brown?
I almost had him on my list. Obviously, there's, some minor, very slight, definitely not serious Ohio State bias in me. Um, so I would love it, in that sense too. Love to see a Columbus kid back to Cleveland. That's a beautiful story in my mind. I think he would be, a great pairing to Myles. I more so was going for, I didn't want to generalize, but we do need to add an edge rusher. I was more so in the mindset, like you said, of, spend money, go after the big name guys. Along that lines, though, I am kind of curious. Another Ohio State guy might have came close to your list, Joey Bosa. Did he pop up for you at all?
Yeah, I'm of the belief that he's probably going to end up in San Francisco just because of his brother. Like that is just too much of a perfect situation to happen. That's why I didn't include him. I was trying to be modest with my picks and make, decisions that seemed a little bit more realistic. But if Joey Bosa signs to the Cleveland Browns, I'll be absolutely ecstatic, man. I think he's a phenomenal talent. I can't believe he got cut from the Chargers. I know it was a money move that made sense for the team, but yeah, I'd love one Joey Bosa, wouldn't you?
I mean, how could you not? He has, some penalty issues and a little bit of an injury history, but when he's on the field, he's a monster. And if you could put him next to Myles, if you could afford to put him next to Myles Garrett, that would easily be a 45 sack season from that D line.
I am breaking news right now, right here on the show. Josh Allen just signed a massive contract extension, making him the highest paid player in NFL history. The Bills inked Josh Allen for much more time. It's Schefter says 6 years, $330 million. Yeah. So, not that that's surprising because, of course, they're going to keep Josh Allen for whatever dollar he wants. But little breaking news right now.
It's a lot of
Yeah,
money, man.
a lot of money. Matt, we got our two down. What is your last free agent fit for the Cleveland Browns that you like?
You actually kind of set me up for this one, bringing up the Bosa 49ers connection. I would like to steal a 49er in free agency here in Dre Greenlaw,
Okay.
shore up the linebacker unit a little more. I'm still very nervous about JOK's status and health. So I think bringing in, an outside linebacker to, leave the door open, but also have a superstar talent there would be a very good thing. And I think coming off an injury, we might be able to get him a little cheaper. He did look very good when he was healthy last year, so he probably will have an expensive market, but Andrew Berry will work the cap and make it work.
Yeah. So I also went with someone who has an injury history. I went with one Chris Godwin, who's expected to make $22.5 million. Obviously, there would have to be some cap manipulation, but I put together my list in the thought process of we are going quarterback at number two. So you go and get a edge rusher to pair with Myles, so you don't have to even worry about or think about drafting a guy like Abdul Carter. Then you get a backup quarterback that fits what you like to do the best in Joe Flacco. And then you go and get another weapon for your young quarterback to be comfortable, to have a nest to lay in, to land in as he starts his NFL career. Chris Godwin did get hurt with that nasty injury. It was a Sunday night game, I think. I forget who they were playing. And it was in like garbage time minutes too, which sucked. He had 576 yards on 5 touchdowns before he went out. Obviously, he is a hell of a receiver, and I think he would make a lot of sense in terms of bolstering what we might need from a rookie quarterback. What do you think about Godwin? And I agree with your I'm agreeing with your take on the linebacker as well. I think linebacker is another position they should try to go after because there is such a big question mark when it comes to that position in JOK right now. But what do you think about one Chris Godwin in the orange and brown?
I almost put him on my list. My one concern with him is if you go back and you look at Chris Godwin's history, when I believe it was an MCL tear he had maybe
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 years ago, kept him out a whole year. He came back the next year. It's a pretty rough year. It took him a year to get going again back into, football talent shape. And I'm just kind of worried, if we're going chips in, win now, we can't waste that year.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not trying to not, he is a very talented player. And even if he's not in Cleveland, I wish that he doesn't have a bad year. I think he's a fantastic player. He's fun to watch. I just have that, slight concern with how long it'll take him to get going, especially a wide receiver with a bad ankle injury. I mean, every position uses their ankle a lot, but you have to be able to
What?
cut on your ankle. And
Right. No, I'm with you. I get it. I think it's a scary gamble to play for sure. But getting a guy like that, Devonte Adams was on my list right before he signed with the Rams. So I had to pivot to Chris Godwin. So if we would have had the opportunity to get Devonte Adams, I would have been 100% there for that. That is one half of the Aaron Rodgers and Adams theory that was going around that I was totally fine with, because I think Adams with a young quarterback would have been fantastic. We have a question real quick coming over on X. Shout out to @2goated01. He asked if we could talk about the chance that we draft Abdul Carter. Do you think there is still a chance that the Cleveland Browns draft Abdul Carter, and put a percentage on it? I'm just adding any of that as well. And then we have another question to get to after this. But go ahead. Abdul Carter, chances he is a Cleveland Brown at number 2.
a little bit today, I did put on my tinfoil hat and fall down the thought rabbit hole of what if Myles went in there and said, part of his deal to get him to say was, hey, I want a project to develop and teach and mentor, and Abdul Carter's it. So if you want me to stay in Cleveland, you go get me Abdul. We have the nastiest edge rusher combo in the league. We have Myles for the next 5 years. Rookie contracts are 4. It doesn't line up horribly. Like, I would say there's a greater than 0% chance. I'd say it's in the 35% range. I mean, he does look like a generationally talented player. It would be hard for Cleveland to sit here and completely disregard him, I would imagine.
Yeah, I right now, and I reserve the right to change this opinion depending on what happens when free agency officially unofficially gets underway tomorrow. I am of the opinion that it is at like you said 35, I'd put it at a 15 to 20 right now. I think the tea leaves and all of the rumors are pointing towards Cleveland Browns QB at number 2, no matter what, whether it be Cam Ward, Shador, whoever falls to them at that second pick, right? I also am partially of the belief that if Tennessee stays at 1, Abdul Carter is the pick, because I don't think they want to take a swing at a quarterback yet. It's a new rookie GM. He doesn't have to take a swing at a quarterback just yet and, tie his name to potentially a quarterback that could be the reason he gets fired, 3 years from now or what have you. He can play the waiting game with that a little bit. So to me, I think there is a chance, because I think he is the most talented player in this draft class. But I think based off of everything that we know right now, the answer is quarterback at number 2, and we'll figure out the rest from later, right?
Yeah, I think that's definitely the, odds on favorite right now. But like we've both said, Carter looks so talented that I would be very shocked and disappointed if that conversation at least hasn't been had multiple times in the Cleveland front office of, hey, we've at least got to consider this.
Yeah, 100%. And I would, they should lose their jobs if they are not talking about every top 10 prospect, whether it be Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, any of the quarterbacks, Mason Graham from Michigan. They should all be discussed right now, because this is such a pivotal offseason and pivotal draft for the Cleveland Browns. If they're not having those conversations, something is very, very wrong, and they should not have their jobs. Matt, we have another question coming in from YouTube. Should the Browns try to sign Von Miller or Zadarius Smith? Both players have been cut. I let you go first on the last question, so I'm going to jump in here and then see what you have to say, okay? Von Miller, I am all the way good on not taking. Von Miller did nothing in terms of Buffalo, and he's just getting too old. I don't think he's a true number two. Za'Darius, I know it would be much of the same of what we've had in the past, but I do think he was a good running mate with Myles Garrett. But there were also rumors that him and Myles didn't talk much. So not having that weird locker room, I don't know if there was a beef or anything like that. But Za'Darius, I'd be more in favor out of the two, but Von Miller, I'm completely out on. How do you feel about it, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100% with what you just said. Out on Von Miller. I wouldn't hate Za'Darius coming back. I just think, like you said, with rumored awkward drama, and with how deep this edge free agent class is this year, there's no reason to even open that box back up. Like, if there really was something there, you have so many other options we've even talked about today that there's no reason to look that way, I would think.
If it got whittled down to a point where Von Miller is the top edge free agent and we have missed out on other ones, I think I could be sold on it. But in terms of all the main options that we have in front of us right now, we talk Sweat, we talk Chase Young, Zadarius Smith has obviously been mentioned in this question now. I lean towards some of those options as opposed to just doubling down on going back to Zadarius or trying to bet on a Von Miller who is not playing at the ability he once did. And that just happens in the league sometimes. He's still one of the greatest, one of the better edge defenders in the history of the sport, blah, 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 blah. Any other thoughts on this topic, Matt?
I'm kind of curious talking about, returning to old players. I was actually pretty close to ending up with Amari Cooper on my list of free agents.
Nope. I'm all the way good on it. And you know why? He was showing signs of age last year with us. He showed even more in Buffalo. Sure, we can bring him back if it's super cheap. And that'd be funny because we basically got a third round pick for nothing. We got rid of a guy for less than a season. But I'm good on Amari Cooper. I think there's other better options out there, and I'm not just talking Goodwin. There's like you could even get a Deontay Johnson, and I think you get similar production compared to what we saw out of Amari Cooper last year. That's just me though. What else do you think? What do you want Amari Cooper apparently since he was going to be on your list?
I mean, not really. More so of putting on the tinfoil hat. Like, I want wide receiver help. I don't think there's really too many like, there's a decent amount of them available right now, but not a lot
Yeah.
of elite options. And then if you look at, and again, this is no guarantee, this is just being, a stat nerd or whatever, but you look at his yearly, trends, really good year, really bad year, really good year, really bad year, his entire career. We're on schedule for a good year. If we can get him for cheap, why not?
Yeah, hey, maybe they will do it, but I don't think that the goal of this front office is just to go back to some of the pieces that have worked before, like Za'Darius, like Amari. I know I'm kind of shooting myself in my own foot because I picked Joe Flacco as the veteran quarterback option in my potential free agents for the Cleveland Browns, but I don't think their goal is to go back to some of these players that have shown signs of wear and tear. I guess Za'Darius really hasn't. He had a good season over in Detroit once we did trade him. I think they're moving in a different direction when it comes to some of those pieces. The reason I think Joe Flacco is going back to some of these older players that have been on the team before makes sense is very similar to why like a Jacoby Brissett makes sense, right? You want to bring an older quarterback in to mentor who is going to be your rookie quarterback you draft here and shit almost a month left into the NFL draft. So that's my thought processes. What else? You got anything else, man? You want to go to final thoughts, final takes?
I think I'm ready to move on here.
Yeah, let's move on. So, random thoughts, hot takes. What is your random thought or hot take of the day to wrap this thing up and take us on home?
Hot take. Haven't really talked about it at all. Don't really see anybody else talking about it. And I'm not exactly sure why. Um, I don't really have, any options listed in front of me either. but I wouldn't be shocked to see Cleveland trade the number 2 overall pick for a talented quarterback somewhere.
Yeah, I don't think that would be absolutely shocking. I just don't know what that really looks like. Kyler Murray, and I'm not giving up a number 2 overall pick for Kyler Murray. I don't know what other options are really open, but I could see them, they're going to venture every possible nook and cranny they can to get this team as competitive as possible right this very second. So I get it. I disagree with it, but I get it. My final thought and hot take, we're going to move around, away from the Browns. There has been a campaign going on that has picked up a lot of steam as of late, and that is for the new Cleveland flag. And I just want to shout that out because there's a lot of different things we could be focusing on right now. But I think the new Cleveland flag looks pretty cool, and I am a fan. So I just wanted to give it a quick little shout out and say, you might see one on the set here sooner rather than later, but who knows? Who knows, right? Matt, it's been a pleasure talking to you. You got anything else you want to say to the fans, to people watching before we take this thing home?
I have one thing to say, and that's to someone that is most definitely not listening. But thank you, Myles Garrett. I love you. Thank you.
I could echo the same sentiment, my brother. You have been listening to At the Office, a Cleveland sports show. We talk all things sports here. We really appreciate your support, listening in, getting your questions submitted, and being able to chop it up and talk about them on the show. Make sure you hit the download button if you're listening to the audio only version of the show. Subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't already. It's At the Office CLE, At the Office, a Cleveland sports show. Are the two names that we use over on YouTube. We really appreciate everyone's support. Myles Garrett, thank you for repping the orange and brown and deciding to continue to rep the orange and brown. Free agency's here, and it's about to get wild. We've already heard some moves. Illegal tampering starts tomorrow. Make sure you stay locked in on the channel. Me, John, and Eric will 110% be going over whatever moves are going on with the Cleveland Browns as free agency starts to progress and more names come off the big board. Until next time, Cleveland, it has been a fantastic day. Myles Garrett is here to stay. Have a great night. Have a great day. And until next time, stay up. Peace.